Hi, I'm Brenda. Welcome back to my quilt room. Today, we're going to continue talking about the Ocean Waves quilt that I'm working on, and you'll get to see the complete finish of it. But right now, I want to show you where I am and how I have been quilting it. These are the first two rows that I have put together. And I'm doing this, the quilt as you go, a block at a time. And I gave you a peek of the blocks when I started it. And now here's another completed row where I've taken 4 blocks and I've sewn them together. And what I did to keep things in order, because this is a scrappy look, and I didn't want any of my half square triangle units to be matched up beside one of the same. And so I know that this number 9 is the beginning and this is the top of row number 3. Now, some information that I said I would pass along as I'm learning how to do this is I'm turning under my raw edges where I left a good inch or so over the edge to the outside edge of my quilt block. And what I found worked for me was I overlapped a little bit of the batting. This is the center right here where these 2 blocks are joined together. And I put down my first batting and trimmed it, and then I put this one down and trimmed it also. I used this purple disappearing school glue on a stick and just put little dots of that under here to hold it in place so that it didn't slip, and I didn't have to use the large safety pins. And then I laid over one edge, folded under. I found my center point, and what I did was I put a pin in there so that I would know where the center line was going to be, that when I folded under the back edge, that when I went to quilt it, it would catch. So this is what the back stitched edge of joining 2 of the blocks looks like. As you can see, there's just a little, it might be 1/4 of an inch there. And so this is the next row. And what I was going to do, since it was 16 blocks, is put 2 rows together, which I've completed. And I have the next row completed. And then this will be the final row. And this is how I've joined them together. I've taken my 2 blocks, I pulled the backing and the batting back. I spray basted my blocks. And so I've matched them up with the points. And then I will stitch these together and finish it as I just showed you on those 2. And then this is the next 2 that I'll join them to, that I've sewed these 2 together. Now when I folded them over, I did use some of the school glue, but I didn't go beyond my stitching line, my quilting line, so that these are still loose because they'll have to be joined to the next row above and below them. This will be the last row. So when I've got those done and I have all 16 blocks together, then I'll trim the outside because I'm not going to add a border. I'm just going to simply put the binding all the way around the 16 blocks to finish it. So that has worked out well for me, using the dabs of glue to hold it together so that I don't have to have a lot of pins in my block when I'm stitching it on my baby lock. And the thread that I'm using, it's called silver. And I got it from Connecting Threads. This is a 70 weight thread. It's just barely a grayish tint. And it's a 70 weight. I found that the settings that I have, this worked better than the 50 weight. Now I used the 50 weight, and I've got brown here just so that you could see the difference in the thickness of the thread. I used a white 50 weight to sew all my patchwork together. And then this, you can maybe see this one better. This is also a 70 weight thread. It came from Connecting Threads. It's blue. So if you can see that beside the 50 weight, you definitely can feel it with your fingers, the difference. Another thing that I did as I joined my blocks together, of course, I had to come back in the middle section and do the quilting, and I just made it linear between the two blocks. And when I got to the end, I threaded a needle that had a large eye, and I just put it through to the back of the quilt, and I pulled it through and tied off and made a knot and buried my threads into the back of the quilt. Instead of going forward and going back to make a knot, I didn't want to see like a large nest of threads on the back of the quilt. So that's how I chose to tie off the ends of the threads after the blocks were joined together, and then I went back and quilted these 2 rows. That's how I pulled my threads through and buried them. And this thread, I think it looks great on the back of the quilt. I'm going to be, I think, really happy with this when it's finished. So if you'll stick around for a few minutes when we come back, I'm going to have it finished and we'll show you the completed Ocean Waves quilt. So we'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back. Well, as you can see behind me, I've got all the rows put together on the Ocean Waves quilt. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not perfect, but I'm learning to do the quilting. And here's a little shot of what the back looks like. I hope you can see that. And you can hardly see on this fabric where the rows were joined together. So I understand why they want you to have an all-over pattern if you're going to do a quilt as you go. And it helps to hide those seams of where you've put your rows and blocks together. But I'm very happy with it. And I've got another project right now in the works. I may try to put it together block by block in a different fashion. But this is it. I will say that if you're doing quilt as you go, like this was my first attempt, I would not work on a block that has so many points that need to match, because I did find it difficult doing the rows. I'm gonna wash it, number one, because I want all the glue that I used out of the quilt. And I may have used a bit too much of the basting spray. But like I said, I'm new to this, and I've got another project in the works, and I'll show that one to you as I start getting it done. But I am going to wash this one. I want it to loosen up a little bit. It was quite heavy putting it under the machine. So anyway, I guess we'll go and I'll see you the next time. I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope you like my videos and continue to watch my channel. So till next time, we'll see you later. Bye.